Hey guys, Matt Lighty here. Today we're going to be talking about Forsaken Masters signature mods from their respective vendors. Apologies in advance if my voice is a little soft. I am not feeling the best. So first off, Forsaken Masters were added in patch 1.3 and they are the effective quest givers in Path of Exile. And they have daily missions, very quest-like, and you can share them, you can find them in wild and maps, but a large draw for them is their specific mods. So Vagan is one of them, and in his vendor he has a Vagan modded item. Vagan's Corsair Sword. Each master has a different signature mod. Vagan's being hits can't be evaded, arguably the most desirable of them. And the bases, the weapon types, all differentiate. But that's what they look like, and this is what they come from. They're at most and Chance Orb. So let's go down a breakdown of what's going where. So, I made a little spreadsheet. So starting from Master Level 4, Masters have a chance to sell a magic item with their signature modifier. An example being Vagan's mod. A special crafting mod that is only available by them. This is true. These all count as normal prefixes. They're all prefixes, which is a big thing. And their values will be rolled as a divine orb if using them, and the mod will disappear. Alteration means you can't alteration it, you can't cast it. If it does, the mod goes away, and it's not as if the mod is linked to the item. So if I had a Vagan's Corsair Sword, like you see, I use an alteration on it, the hits can't be evaded goes away. It is not stored on the item's ID, which means I cannot alteration back into the roll, hoping to get it in conjunction with a suffix. Once it is rolled off, it's rolled off for good. Okay? And the big thing is, I made a note of, is signature mods only have one tier. Now, Vagan mods have no tiers. It's just hits can't be evaded. But Elrion mods has -4 to -8 mana. You may be thinking those could be 4 different tiers of rolls. That is not the case. They're all one tier. Elrion's is the tier. That is the roll type. So moving on. And then they have eye levels in conjunction with the master level, leading up to 59, starting level 4. So there's some things that are desirable from masters, some that aren't, and mainly for the reasons that there are potential roles they can go into. So Katarina offers +1 level to support gems in this item, for helms, scepters, wands, daggers. But the only ones that are really useful are helms, scepters, and wands, namely because they're used for such things as in conjunction with +2 level of gems, which means you could have, since it's a prefix, you couldn't augment dictation into, you could regal into it though. So say I had a Katarina wand that had the Katarina mod. So Katarina's opal wand, right? I regal it, assuming it is the eye level 55, which means it'd have to be from my 7+ master. I regal into +2 items. I can exalt it then if I really got lucky, or through various meta crafting methods, get paragons, which means you could effectively now have a +4 wand. Obviously it's to support gems, but you can see the potential. Now, a large draw with this when it first came out was the minion gems to helmets. It does not, it works for +1 gems, which is fine, but the +2 gem roll summoner is eye level 65, and being that the cutoff is eye level 59, you're not going to be able to get it. So this is a spreadsheet that I'll put in the video in the description below that breaks down what's good and what's not for the rolls. But let's go through a couple more here as an example. Elrion, he sells rings, necklaces, and does not sell belts. Why did it say belts? I was meant to say amulet. I apologize. Amulet. Okay, so rings and amulets that has negative mana cost. This is really good for starting with new characters. Like we saw before, Elrion had -6, but you could have -8 times 1, 2, 3, -24 mana cost. Could easily, if you're doing a Ellie Buzzsaw type build where the mana cost is relatively low, you could essentially on a 6-link even negate your mana cost to nothing, which is super powerful. Now desirable rolls for this, leading up to level 59, stuff like the Viral roll, which is a ton of life, added physical, weapon, elemental damage, ally resist. These are all desirable things. So when you see an Elrion jewelry, almost always I would purchase it. Haku is 3 to 6 quality of support gems. This rolls on 2 hand weapons and 1 hand weapons. The only real application that I've seen from this, although there could be some weird application with a two-hand weapon, like a two-hand staff, like a SRS, Summon Raging Spirit staff, where you could roll +3 fire gems and have 6% quality. Yeah, it's possible, and that'd be like, you know, mirror tier quality and so forth. But majority of its uses is having in leveling weapons. What I mean by leveling weapons is you have your offset of weapons here used for leveling. So Haku's Barbed Club, +6 quality of items. For something like Enhance, where the quality is increased experience, also applies for Enlighten, also applies for Empower. This is a free way of getting 30% more experience on your set of specialty gems. Very useful, and you'll see +6 onto a time. This is where an occasion where I would not buy them unless they were one hand +6 or two hand +6, but one hands obviously are easier to 3-socket, and you do not need links in the gems. You just need the sockets, and there's no purpose to divine these rolls. They're fairly common since the range is 3 to 6. Moving on to Leo. Leo is the PvP master, and obviously it's a weird kind of niche one to roll, and it has his mod is 5 to 15 increased damage. It's not more damage; it is increased, so the impact is not major. But he sells accessories as well: amulets, rings, belts. Kind of a similar thing with Elrion. Even though the rolls differentiate, kind of want to always do it because in the off chance you hit something like Viral or Annealed or one of the high res things, or even athletes in the belt, that could be really expensive to someone who likes to do a little dueling or such. Tora has Bleed on hit, which is probably the worst of them. Bleeding is a weird mod, but it's also a prefix, which means that you're taking up either a physical, a hybrid physical roll, or a flat physical roll from a bow, which is almost in every scenario strictly worse. So in that case, the only one I would pick up, which I specify in the section below, is Decimation Bow. It's the highest crit base. It's like a lesser Harbinger. If you're gonna do it, get that one. I don't pick up Toro items regardless. We're gonna skip ahead to Varici and leave Vagan for that since he's the big one. Varici is Life Leech rate, which is, I'm not sure how better or worse it is now as the Life Leech has changed, but there are builds that stack Life Leech rate, like Guda's Ground Slam build he showcased last league. It's on amulets and gloves. Amulets is a very rare occurrence, so I would kind of pick up every amulet base. Maybe not like Poya amulets or the life regen ones, because those are really shitty ones, but especially stuff like Onyx or the hybrid or even the solo stat ones, pick them up regardless of role. Gloves similar. Basically for these I would get one, augment it into hopefully a res, and regal it into life. Then you could, maybe it's worth something. Past that, not really. For the bases, it kind of just like all of them, all amulets, gloves. You can strictly say 35 plus if you want to, if you're being stingy about it. A list of the desirable bases. Now Vagan is the most important one. It is the only way you're really going to make money off of this. Elrond rings could sell for a pretty penny, especially if you get diamond rings. -8 diamond rings or -8 2-stone rings could be worth a lot. Because remember, you could potentially have 3 2-stone rings. I believe you can craft them into maybe one. A prismatic, I don't think you can have the roll though. But yes, something like that could sell for a few chaos in New League, maybe even an Exalt and Standard if it was perfectly rolled. Now Vagan ones are really expensive because on cast on crit builds. Now all the two-hand Vagan weapons are pretty much trash because most two-hand builds are gonna be using Resolute Technique, or it's just not in their really wheelhouse to be a COC build. The only maybe exception would be Stabs for the crit ground slam build, but that is pretty to the wayside as far as builds go. One-hand melee weapons, any of them, not any of them, but any dagger especially, I put it on the list here. All daggers, all stabs in the off chance you hit high crit or high attack speed. And I put the scepters again for the similar thing, one-hand ground slam COC or one-hand COC builds. These are the ones that have 15% or 20% LE base, so maybe they're more desirable. But really the draw from Vagan is daggers. You get a dagger with Vagan. Some of the bases are extremely good, namely Vagan Poignard, which is the best base. If you get a blue Vagan Poignard, you can sell it for 2 Exalted. In a new league at level 4, that's crazy. And especially with Vagan, you could, since the eye level for some of these things are pretty low, you could augment and regal into one of these two, being attack speed, fame roll, or penetrating crit chance. Really increases the value. The value of the hits can't be evaded mod is not to be understated. It removes the need for accuracy on COC, which could effectively cover a large gap. Again, these are the bases for them, but that about covers it for everything about the signature mod. One last thing that could add is that I didn't mention Zana. Now, Zana does have a signature mod, technically, but it is invasion, so Zana's colonnade, Zana being the prefix, it just adds an invasion boss to the area. Now, this has really no value, like no monetary value, no currency value, and at 9 out of 10, it's expensive as in 3 chaos, but it could be fun, maybe. That's up to you. This is more of a board decision to make, but all the others you could do every day. An alternative is if you want to really capitalize on your Forsaken Masters things, especially Vagan, and the chance of trying to get the daggers from him that have hits can't be evaded, that are very expensive at times. You could roll a character on hardcore, even if you don't play hardcore. That way you can basically effectively do 2 a day. And if you don't even want to do the daily, and you just feel bored, you could, when you activate the daily, just slap / abandon _ daily, and it abandons your current daily mission. You could even set it to a hotkey, like I have a hotkey for / remaining. If you want to check hotkeys, check out the Lighty hotkey section of the guides. But yeah, that about covers it for signature mods. I'm Matt Lighty. Any questions, comments, concerns, message me on YouTube or Twitch or the forums. I will see you guys.